Okay, so let's talk about a musical idea that is, it's basically hiding in plain sight. It's in so much classical music and a ton of the pop songs you hear every day.
It really is. We're talking about ternary form. And if you can wrap your head around this one concept, you basically understand how most music is organized.
So at its core, it's a three-part structure, right? We call it ABO.
Exactly. A, then B, then a return to A. That's the formula.
And the point here for a composer isn't just to make something sound nice. It's about achieving a sense of balance and maybe completion.
Yeah, you can't just throw notes at a page and hope for the best. They need a logical shape, and ABA provides this perfect, really satisfying logic.
I always find it helps to think of it like a journey. You start at home, which is section A.
Right.
Then you go somewhere new, somewhere different. That's your section B. And then, and this is the key part, you come all the way back home for that final A section.
That feeling of returning home after an adventure, I think that's what makes this form so powerful and, why it's lasted for hundreds of years.
Okay, so let's start at home. Section A. This is the setup.
It's the main idea. This is where the composer lays out the main theme, the rhythm, the whole mood of the piece. It's the musical anchor.
It has to be memorable then, right?
Oh, absolutely. The goal is for you to be able to hum this part after hearing it just once. It needs to be catchy because you have to recognize it when it comes back later.
And there's a technical reason for that stability, isn't there? It's all about being in the home key. For anyone listening who's a bit new to this, what exactly does home key mean?
The home key is like musical gravity. It's the central note, the chord that the whole piece is kind of pulled towards.
Okay.
So when the music is in that key, it just feels stable. It feels resolved. If you stop the music right at the end of section A, it would sound like a perfectly fine, finished little piece.
No cliffhangers.
No cliffhangers. The harmony is stable. It's the solid ground you're standing on before the adventure begins.
Which sets us up perfectly to leave home and walk into section B. So if A is all about being stable and familiar, B's job must be the complete opposite.
100%. It's all about contrast. Section B's main purpose is to stop the music from getting repetitive or, just plain boring.
So how big of a contrast are we talking? Is it a subtle shift or a whole new world?
It can be pretty dramatic. Composers have a few tricks they use. They might change the mood.
Like from happy to sad?
Exactly. Or from loud and energetic to really quiet and delicate. They might also bring in a totally new rhythm that you haven't heard before.
But the most powerful tool seems to be changing the key itself.
That's the big one. It's the most effective way to create tension. When you change the key, you shift that musical center of gravity we were talking about.
Ah,
So suddenly, the music feels less settled. It's more dynamic, maybe a little anxious even. It really sounds like you're traveling because you're not at that home base anymore.
but wait, if B is introducing all these new ideas in a new key, how does the composer stop it from sounding like they just started playing a completely different song by mistake?
Well, that's the genius of it. Even though Section B is exploring new territory, it still has to fit the overall style of the piece. It's like visiting a new city.
Mm-hmm.
It looks different, but you're still on the same trip.
And the length is usually similar too, right?
Yeah. Keeping B about the same length as A helps maintain that structural balance we mentioned. It keeps it from feeling chaotic.
Right, so you have tension, but it's controlled. And all that tension needs to be resolved, which brings us to probably the most satisfying moment, the return.
The return to Section A. This is what makes the form truly ternary. It completes that ABA circle.
And when you hear that familiar tune come back after the weirdness of B, it's just this rush of recognition. It feels so good.
Feels like coming home. And it resolves all that harmonic tension from B by snapping the music right back into that original home key. That's the moment of closure.
Now, a question. If you've just been on this exciting adventure in B, wouldn't just repeating A note for note feel a little, I don't know, anticlimactic?
That is an excellent point.
Yeah.
And yeah, it could feel a bit mechanical. So while the main melody and rhythm of AA have to be recognizable, composers almost always add some changes the second time around.
So they'll decorate it a bit.
Exactly.
Hmm.
They might add some extra fast notes, some little flourishes, or maybe have a different instrument play the theme.
So it's familiar, but it's not a carbon copy.
Right. They dress it up. It keeps things interesting and often gives the performer a chance to show off a little as the piece heads toward the end.
Okay, before we get to where we find this, it might help to talk about what ternary form isn't. There's a simpler version called binary form.
Right. Binary form. You could call it the simpler cousin, AD. It was super popular back in the Baroque period, especially for dance music.
So what's the difference for the listener? How does it feel different?
Well, in binary form, you get your A section, you get a contrasting B section, and then it just
It
ends.
does come back home.
It never comes back to that original A material. It just finishes after B. So ternary form adds that crucial third step, that final restatement of A, which makes the whole thing feel more balanced and, honestly, more complete.
It makes sense that it became more popular later on then.
For sure. And if you look at old sheet music, especially from the 18th century, you find this really cool shortcut they use for that final A section, the Italian phrase da capo.
Which literally means from the beginning, right?
It does. So instead of writing out the entire A section all over again, which cost a lot of time and money for paper and ink, a composer would just write da capo.
A clear instruction. Go
Yeah.
back to the start and play it again.
Exactly. But it wasn't just about saving paper. It was actually a signal to the performer
A signal to do what?
to show off, especially for singers in operas. When they saw da capo, they knew they were expected to embellish the melody. They'd add their own decorative runs, trills, all sorts of variations.
Oh, interesting. So it was a built-in moment for the star to shine. They get to give the audience this personalized, virtuosic version of the main theme.
It made this structure really collaborative. It wasn't just a repeat. It was an interactive performance.
That makes so much sense. And that leads us right into where this form really became king, the classical period.
It was absolutely standard. Composers like Mozart and Haydn used it constantly in their symphonies and sonatas.
And it wasn't just random, it was the required structure for certain parts of the symphony, like the minuet and trio movement.
Exactly. The minuet was a kind of stately, graceful dance. That served as your section A.
Okay.
Then the composer would write a contrasting section called the trio, which was B. It was often lighter, maybe written for fewer instruments, a real change of mood. And then, what do you think happened?
They played the minuet again, ABA.
ABA. It gave the music a clear, predictable, and really satisfying symmetry that 18th century audiences loved. But like you said at the start, this isn't just dusty old history.
No, it's everywhere. So many pop songs are built on this exact same foundation. They just use different names for the parts, like verse and chorus.
We can map it directly. Think of a standard pop song. Your first verse and the main chorus. That's your section A. It's this stable, catchy, home theme.
Then, after maybe another verse and chorus, you get to the bridge. That part where the music builds, the singer changes their tone, that's going to be section B.
That's your section B. It's the tension builder. It changes things up, gets you ready for the big finale, and what always comes after the bridge.
The huge final chorus.
The huge, satisfying return to the main chorus. That's your return to A. It gives everyone something to sing along to, and it just provides that perfect feeling of conclusion. The logic is timeless.
And composers can still play with the rules, right? It's a tool, not a cage. I'm thinking of that little extra bit sometimes tacked on at the very end.
The coda.
Huh?
So sometimes a composer will write a perfect ABA structure and then decide to add a short closing section.
Why, though? If the form already feels complete, what's the point of the coda?
Coda just means tail. It doesn't add any new big ideas. It's more like an exclamation point. It often just repeats the final chord, the home key, over and over again.
Just to really hammer it home.
It hammers home that the journey is well and truly over. This is the end. Period.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So let's make this practical. How can you spot this form just by listening, without any sheet music?
Okay, so 3 steps. Step 1. When the music starts, really listen to that first melody. Try to memorize it. That's your A.
Got it. Lock in the main theme.
Step 2. Listen for a clear change, a definite shift. Does the mood change? Does it get quieter or more intense? That's your signal that you've entered section B.
And step 3 is just waiting for that first tune to come back.
Just wait for it. When you hear that familiar melody again, you know you're in the final A section and you've just heard a piece in ternary form.
I find the analogies really help too. The sandwich analogy is a good one.
Right. A is the top slice of bread, B is the filling, and the final A is the bottom slice. The bread holds the whole thing together.
Or the journey. A is home, B is the trip, and the final A is that great feeling of walking back through your own front door.
Understanding this structure is so important if you're a musician. For a composer, it teaches you how to organize your ideas so your piece makes sense.
And for a performer, it totally changes how you play it. You can decide to play the first A one way, build all this drama in B, and then play the final A with, more excitement and flair.
And it makes memorizing music so much easier. You don't have to memorize 1,000 individual notes. You just memorize section A, memorize section B, and know that A comes back at the end. It's just a brilliant, timeless way to keep an audience engaged.
So here's a challenge for you. The next time you listen to a song, any song, Don't just focus on the lyrics. Listen for the shape. Can you find the filling? That section B where the tension builds right before that big, satisfying chorus comes back one last time.
Once you start hearing it, you'll find it everywhere.